The alarm chimed 3 times, the universal signal for quarantine protocol, and Olivia felt her stomach tighten before she even saw what had arrived. She followed Dr. Selivar and the other physicians down the phosphorescent corridor toward Docking Bay 7, their translucent skin rippling with what she'd learned to recognize as anxiety. The Valorians moved in their characteristic gliding gait, but today there was hesitation in every step. The cargo crate dominated the bay, twice the size of standard medical transport containers. It sat beneath the harsh blue scanning lights, surrounded by 4 Valorian security guards who stood at a distance that seemed almost comical, as if the extra 3 meters would make any difference. Their quad-jointed arms were raised defensively, bioluminescent patches along their necks pulsing erratic yellows and oranges. Then Olivia heard it. A low, rumbling growl that seemed to originate from somewhere deep and primal. A sound that bypassed her rational brain and spoke directly to the ancient prey-animal part of her nervous system. The vibration traveled through the metal flooring, up through her boots into her bones. She watched the sterile white walls seem to hum with it, the sound refusing to be contained. Inside the crate, something heavy shifted. Claws, multiple claws, scraped against the reinforced bars in a rhythm that was almost hypnotic. Scrape, scrape, pause. Scrape, scrape, pause. Each sound was punctuated by a huff of breath and the rattle of the container itself, as if the creature was testing the integrity of its prison with methodical precision. Olivia stepped closer, squinting past the glare of the scanning lights, and her breath caught. The spotted coat, the elegant, compact skull, the distinctive black tear marks running from the inner corners of the eyes. Oh my God, that's a cheetah. Memory flooded through her. She was 7 years old again, sticky-fingered with melted ice cream, pressed against the glass at the Cincinnati Zoo. Her father's voice, "See how she's built for speed, Livy? Everything about her is perfect for one thing, running." David Attenborough's documentary narration echoing through their living room on Sunday evenings. The poster on her bedroom wall of a cheetah mid-sprint, legs extended like a dancer frozen in flight, and now one was here. 73 light-years from Earth, locked in a crate in an alien veterinary clinic. The Valorians were panicking. Dr. Selivar's primary arms moved in rapid gestures, causing holographic data spheres to bloom in the air around them. The spheres multiplied, each one pulling information from the galactic database about Earth species, each one making the situation worse. A Psionics jubatus glowed in their written language across one sphere. Top speed. 120 kilometers per hour pulsed in warning red on another. A third sphere displayed a rotating 3D model of a cheetah's skull, its jaws opening and closing, revealing the carnassial teeth designed for shearing flesh. Beside it, statistics scrolled: bite force, 475 psi. Dietary classification: obligate carnivore. Extreme. Successful predation rate: 58% flashed ominously. Most efficient hunter among large felines. Imara, the head surgical nurse, had all 4 of her hands pressed to her chest, her skin flickering through colors Olivia had never seen before. Deep purples shot through with veins of sickly green. How is such a creature legal to transport? Her voice came out in their language's harmonic tones, but the translator patch behind Olivia's ear rendered the horror perfectly clear. "This!" Selivar gestured at the crate, at the cheetah inside that had gone momentarily still. "This is an apex predator. Look at these readings. Its cardiovascular system is optimized for pursuit. Its claws are semi-retractable for traction during high-speed chases. Its spine is extraordinarily flexible to allow for..." He stopped, mandibles clicking in distress. Why would any rational being bring such a beast into civilized space? "The diplomatic envoy must be warned," Imara said, her secondary arms already reaching for the communication panel. "This animal should be sent back through the jump gate immediately. We cannot possibly... It's injured." Olivia surprised herself by speaking. Her voice sounded small in the vast docking bay, human flat compared to the melodic Valorian speech, but it cut through their panic. All eyes, primary and secondary ocular organs, turned to her. She stepped forward, past the security guards who made no move to stop her. Their confusion was palpable. The human intern was approaching the death beast voluntarily. "Look," Olivia pointed to the crate's side, where dark spots stained the metal floor. "That's blood. And the envoy wouldn't have brought her here if she wasn't valuable to them. This is obviously someone's companion animal. Companion? Sulliver's skin rippled with disbelief. Humans keep predators as companions? Some of us do. Not cheetahs usually, but... She paused, watching the creature through the bars. It was panting heavily, and now that she was closer, she could see the matted fur along its right flank, the way it kept its weight off its left rear leg. She's scared, and she's in pain. This isn't a monster, Olivia thought, moving closer still. This is just an animal. A hurt, frightened animal that's been dragged across the galaxy, surrounded by beings it doesn't recognize, in a place that smells all wrong. She's terrified. And wasn't that something Olivia understood intimately? She'd felt that same disorientation 6 months ago when she'd first arrived at this station, the only human in a facility staffed by 14 different species, all of them thinking her biology was strange, her presence questionable. Don't, Imara started, but Olivia was already kneeling. She moved slowly, deliberately, keeping her shoulders down and her posture open. No direct eye contact. That would be a challenge. She'd learned that from her childhood fascination with big cats, from every documentary she'd devoured. Predators understood body language in ways that transcended species. The cheetah's head swiveled toward her, ears flat against its skull. Up close, Olivia could see the creature was female, smaller than a male would be, her frame lean even by cheetah standards, possibly underfed. The panting had increased, tongue lolling, and Olivia could hear the faint wheeze in her breathing. Behind her, Selivar was saying something urgent in Valorian to the security team, but Olivia tuned it out. The translator patch would just distract her. She needed to focus. "Hey, beautiful," Olivia murmured, her voice low and soft, the tone she'd use with a frightened dog. "You've had a really bad day, haven't you?" The cheetah's ears twitched. Her pupils blown wide with stress and pain tracked Olivia's face. "I know this place is weird. I know nothing smells right. I know you hurt." Olivia kept talking, kept her breathing slow and even, her chest rising and falling in an exaggerated visible rhythm. "But we're gonna help you, I promise. We're the good guys." She heard one of the aliens whisper. The sound was like wind chimes in a minor key, sad and disbelieving. They thought they were watching her die. They thought she was committing some noble, foolish sacrifice. Olivia extended her hand, palm down, fingers loosely curled. She moved at a glacial pace, giving the cheetah time to track every centimeter of movement. The bars were wide enough that she could slip her hand through if she was careful. "That's it? Just going to let you check me out. No sudden moves." The cheetah's nostrils flared. Her whiskers trembled. For a long moment, nothing happened. The entire docking bay seemed to hold its breath, alien and human alike, suspended in the space between catastrophe and miracle. Then the cheetah leaned forward. Her nose was hot and dry against Olivia's knuckles, dehydrated, probably stressed beyond measure. The cheetah sniffed in short, rapid huffs, taking in Olivia's scent. The antiseptic soap from the clinic, the protein bar she'd eaten for lunch, the underlying humanness that must have seemed impossibly strange, and yet somehow impossibly familiar. Home. This human smelled like home. The cheetah's rough tongue, warm and slightly sticky, rasped across Olivia's fingers. Once, twice. A cautious, testing lick that sent relief flooding through Olivia's entire body. "Good girl," she breathed. "Such a good, brave girl." Behind her, Imara made a sound like crystal breaking. Olivia glanced back to see the entire medical team had backed up another 2 meters, their skin colors cycling through shock patterns. Sulliver's mandibles hung open in an expression she'd learned meant complete disbelief. They were watching her communicate with an efficient killer. They were watching her survive. "She's not going to hurt me," Olivia said, speaking to them but keeping her eyes on the cheetah, maintaining that fragile thread of trust. "She's just confused and hurt. Look at her breathing. I think she might have a respiratory infection. And that leg is definitely injured. We need to sedate her and get her into surgery." "Sedate?" Sulliver's voice cracked. "You want us to open that container?" "I want you to do your jobs," Olivia said quietly. She kept her hand near the bars, and the cheetah kept her head close, their proximity a statement. "See? We understand each other. This is your area of expertise, isn't it? Exotic species care? Well." Olivia smiled despite the adrenaline still singing through her veins. "They don't get much more exotic than this." The cheetah huffed against her palm, a sound that might have been agreement, might have been exhaustion, might have been the first note of trust growing between a human and a piece of earth, impossibly far from home. Salivar approached with the caution of someone defusing a bomb. His translucent skin had settled into a pale blue, his version of forced calm, Olivia had learned. In his primary right hand, he held a pressurized injector, the kind used for large aggressive patients. The sedative cartridge glowed a soft amber. "The dosage," he said, his melodic voice tight with uncertainty. "I've calculated based on body mass and metabolic rate, but Earth mammalian physiology is imprecise in our databases. If I give too much..." "She'll stop breathing," Olivia finished. She hadn't moved from her position by the crate, hadn't broken the fragile connection with the cheetah. "And if you give too little, she'll wake up on the table. What's your best estimate?" 73% confidence interval. Olivia felt her stomach drop. In human medicine, you didn't operate with those odds. But then again, human medicine had never had to account for the biological variance of 6,000 known sentient species, plus countless non-sentient ones. "Okay," she said. "Okay, that'll have to work, but I need to be the one to administer it." "Absolutely not," Imara said from her safe distance. "You are an intern. You have no authorization for..." "She trusts me." Olivia finally looked back at them, at the circle of anxious aliens who saw her as either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. "If you come at her with that injector, she'll panic. She'll hurt herself trying to get away. But if I do it..." She turned back to the cheetah, whose amber eyes were half closed now, exhaustion winning over fear. "She'll let me." The silence stretched. Then Salivar glided forward, extending the injector toward Olivia with visible reluctance. "The neck," he said. "Deep muscle, behind the skull. Quick pressure, 3 seconds. The sedative will take approximately 90 seconds to reach full effect." Olivia took the injector. It was heavier than she expected, warm from Salivar's body heat, and shaped for hands with more fingers than hers. She adjusted her grip, feeling the weight of what she was about to do. "Hey, sweetheart," she murmured to the cheetah. "I need you to trust me a little bit more. Just a little pinch, and then you're going to feel so much better. I promise." She reached through the bars with her left hand first, the one the cheetah had already scented and accepted. The big cat pushed her head into Olivia's palm, seeking comfort, and Olivia's heart cracked open. This wasn't a monster. This was someone's beloved companion, someone who'd been taught that human hands meant safety and kindness. With her right hand, Olivia brought the injector through the bars. The cheetah's ear swiveled toward the sound, but she didn't pull away. Olivia found the spot Salivar had indicated, felt the warmth of the cheetah's body through her spotted fur, and pressed. The injector hissed. The cheetah's whole body tensed, a yowl building in her throat, but Olivia kept her left hand steady, kept murmuring reassurances, and after 3 seconds, withdrew the injector. Good girl, I'm so sorry, I know. The cheetah turned her head and Olivia's breath stopped. For a moment, she saw the predator, the efficient killer the database had warned about. The amber eyes locked onto hers with an intelligence that was almost human, almost accusatory. But then the cheetah's eyes began to droop. Her legs wobbled. She made a sound that was almost a chirp, almost a protest, and then her hindquarters folded. 90 seconds, Olivia whispered, counting in her head. 89, 88. The cheetah's front legs gave out at 73 seconds. She collapsed into the pooled blanket at the bottom of the crate, her sides still rising and falling, but slower now. Slower. Is she? Imara started. She's breathing. She's okay. Olivia pulled her hand back through the bars finally and realized she was shaking. Get her out. Now. Before the sedative wears off. They moved the cheetah to Operating Theater 3, the one with the adjustable atmospheric controls and the universal surgical platform. Olivia helped guide the anti-grav stretcher, keeping her hand on the cheetah's flank, feeling the rise and fall of her breath beneath spotted fur. Dr. Salivar had called in Dr. Teixis, a Corvian surgeon whose species had 4 compound eyes and hands that could work at 3 different scales simultaneously. Teixis took one look at the cheetah and made a clicking sound that the translator rendered as impressed bewilderment. Earth fauna, Teixis said, circling the surgical platform. I've studied their medical literature. Remarkable resilience, but their pain tolerance is poorly distributed. highly sensitive to certain stimuli, remarkably resistant to others. She's hurt her leg, Olivia said, pointing to the left rear limb that the cheetah had been favoring. And she's got respiratory distress, you can hear the wheeze. Texas extended a scanning device and holographic overlays bloomed above the cheetah's body. Olivia watched the alien technology map Earth anatomy, the skeleton rendered in blue light, the muscular system in red, the respiratory system in green. Fractured tibia, Texas announced. Clean break, relatively recent, 3 days old, perhaps 4. And yes, significant inflammation in the bronchial passages. Infection. More clicking. Bacterial, I think. The pathogen signature is consistent with environmental exposure. Where was she being kept? I don't know, Olivia admitted. The diplomatic envoy who brought her. Are they still here? In the waiting area, Selivar said. He'd been hovering near the door, as if ready to flee if the sedated cheetah suddenly reanimated, demanding updates every few minutes. I want to talk to them, Olivia said. After the surgery, I need to know how this happened. Imara, who'd been preparing surgical instruments with her characteristic efficiency, paused. You think this was negligence? I think someone didn't know how to care for an earth animal and was too proud to ask for help until it was almost too late. Olivia stroked the cheetah's head gently, feeling the delicate bones of her skull, the soft fur of her ears, and I want to make sure it doesn't happen again. Olivia wasn't allowed to scrub in, intern status and cross-species contamination protocols, but she watched from the observation deck, her face pressed close to the transparent barrier. Below, Tyxus worked with the precision of a master, 4 hands moving in perfect coordination. The fractured tibia required a bioregeneration scaffold, a lattice of programmable cells that would encourage the bone to heal along the correct axis. Tyxus placed it with micrometer accuracy, while Selivar monitored vitals and adjusted the sedative levels. The respiratory infection was more complicated. The bacteria was Earth native, which meant none of their standard broad-spectrum antibiotics would touch it. Selivar had to cross-reference the Galactic Medical Database with archived Earth pharmaceutical data, searching for compatible treatments. Doxycycline, Olivia called through the intercom. It's a tetracycline antibiotic. We use it for respiratory infections in cats. Cats? Selivar's voice crackled back. Felids, same family as cheetahs. The dosage calculator should work if you input her as a large domestic cat. She heard Selivar's mandibles clicking, his thinking sound. Then, calculating now. Yes, we have a synthetic equivalent in stock, administering. The surgery lasted 3 hours. Olivia watched every minute, her legs cramping from standing, her neck stiff from the awkward angle. She watched Tyxus close the incision with dissolving sutures that would be absorbed as the bone healed. She watched Selivar inject anti-inflammatories and pain medication, each dose carefully calibrated to Earth mammalian physiology. And she watched the cheetah breathe, steady and deep, alive. They moved her to a recovery suite, a private room with adjustable gravity and climate controls. Olivia insisted on staying, pulling a chair beside the platform where the cheetah lay on soft thermal blankets. Selivar brought her a nutrition packet and a cup of something that approximated coffee but tasted like burnt flowers. You should rest, he said. We have monitoring systems. If her vitals change... I want to be here when she wakes up, Olivia said. She'll be disoriented, scared. She should see a familiar face. You spent 30 minutes with her. I'm the only human on this station. I'm the most familiar face she's going to get. Selivar's skin rippled through several colors before settling on resigned purple. You care about her. Of course I do. Even though she's a predator, even though she could theoretically kill you. Olivia looked up at him, this alien physician who'd been so terrified of the cheetah, and smiled. Dr. Selivar, do you know what the most dangerous animal on Earth is? The cheetah is rated. Humans, Olivia interrupted. We're the apex predator. We're the ones who hunted megafauna to extinction, who domesticated wolves and made them into dogs, who built cities and bombs and spacecraft. Cheetahs? She looked back at the sleeping cat, her expression softening. Cheetahs are fragile. They're specialized. They can't fight off other predators. They give up their kills to hyenas and lions. They're built for speed, not strength. And this one? She reached out, resting her hand on the cheetah's shoulder. This one's been through hell and just needed someone to help her. Sullivar was quiet for a long moment. Then, perhaps we have underestimated Earth species. Most people do, Olivia said. The cheetah's ear twitched. Her breathing changed rhythm. Olivia leaned forward, watching, and saw the exact moment consciousness began to return. The flutter of eyelids, the twitch of whiskers, the instinctive tensing of muscles. "Hey," Olivia said softly. "Hey, you're okay. You're safe." Amber eyes opened, unfocused at first, then clearing. The cheetah lifted her head an inch, then dropped it back down with a small chirp of confusion. "That's the anesthesia," Olivia explained, as if the cheetah could understand. "You're gonna feel weird for a bit, but your leg's fixed, and we cleared out that infection. You're gonna feel so much better in a few days." The cheetah blinked slowly. Once, twice. Then she stretched her neck out and placed her head directly on Olivia's lap. Olivia heard Sullivar's soft intake of breath behind her. "Yeah," Olivia whispered, blinking back unexpected tears. "Yeah, we're gonna be okay." The staff meeting convened in the circular conference room the next morning, its walls displaying the swirling nebula that housed the station. Olivia sat in her usual spot, the single human-sized chair among furniture designed for bodies with different centers of gravity. The cheetah, whom she'd learned was named Zenith, was sleeping peacefully in the recovery suite under monitor surveillance. Dr. Sullivar stood at the head of the table, his skin cycling through contemplative silver blues. His 4 hands moved through the air, pulling up holographic displays of yesterday's events: the arrival, the vitals, the surgery, the successful recovery. "By all standard protocols," he began, his voice carrying that melodic quality that still sometimes mesmerized Olivia, "yesterday should have ended in catastrophe. We had an unknown apex predator, incomplete medical data, and a patient whose behavioral patterns were completely outside our training parameters." He paused, and his primary eyes fixed on Olivia. "Our protocols failed us." The admission hung in the air. Around the table, the other physicians shifted, skin colors flickering, secondary arms making unconscious gestures of discomfort. "But intern Reeves," Sullivar continued, and Olivia noticed he dropped the usual formal title structure, "succeeded where we could not. Not because she knew more medicine, she is still learning our techniques, but because she understood something we did not." His mandibles clicked softly. "She understood the patient." Amara spoke up from across the table, her 4 hands folded in a gesture of acknowledgement. "I called it reckless when she approached that creature. I believed she was being foolish, driven by some human instinct I could not comprehend." Her skin shifted to a warm amber, embarrassment mixed with respect. "I was wrong. What I perceived as recklessness was actually compassion with courage. She saw past the predator to the frightened animal. We saw data. She saw a patient. Reckless compassion," Dr. Teixas said, their compound eyes gleaming with something like amusement. "I rather like that term. Perhaps we need more of it in xenomedicine." Varick, one of the younger residents who'd watched the entire event from behind a support column, leaned forward eagerly. His skin practically glowed with enthusiastic yellows and greens. "Intern Reeves, would you? That is, I was wondering if you might teach me some Earth techniques? The way you read body language, the calming vocalizations, the non-threatening postural displays. These are skills our curriculum doesn't cover." Olivia felt heat rise to her cheeks. "I'm not really qualified to teach." "You calmed a predator that our entire security team feared," Varick interrupted. "You are precisely qualified. Please, I want to learn." Around the table, other heads nodded, or performed their species equivalent. The energy in the room had shifted. Yesterday, she'd been the human intern, the oddity, the one they tolerated because the Galactic Medical Exchange Program required it. Today, she was something else. A colleague, a teacher. "Okay," Olivia said softly. "Yeah, I can do that. We could start with basic mammalian behavioral cues, stress signals, trust-building techniques." Her mind was already racing ahead, thinking of curriculum, of how to translate instincts she'd learned from growing up with dogs and cats and countless nature documentaries into something teachable. Sullivar's skin rippled with satisfied blues. Then it settled. Intern Reeves will conduct a seminar series on Earth fauna behavioral medicine. I'll authorize it as part of your internship requirements. He paused, then added with what might have been humor. "Assuming, of course, that you survive the next 6 months without adopting any more apex predators." the room filled with the various sounds of alien laughter, chiming, clicking, harmonic tones. Olivia found herself laughing too, the tension of the past 24 hours finally releasing. "No promises," she said. The diplomatic envoy requested a private meeting that afternoon. Olivia met him in one of the station's formal receiving rooms, a space designed for multi-species comfort, with adjustable seating and atmospheric controls that could accommodate everything from methane breathers to beings who preferred near vacuum. Ambassador Thalvin was Kethrian, a species Olivia had only seen in training hollows before. He stood nearly 3 meters tall, with iridescent scales that shifted through the visible spectrum and beyond, and 4 arms that moved with deliberate grace. His face was angular and almost avian, with large eyes that saw into the infrared range. "Intern Reeves," he said, his voice a deep resonance that the translator rendered as formal and weighted with significance. "I owe you a debt that cannot be adequately expressed in any language." "You don't owe me anything," Olivia said, though her stomach fluttered with nerves. Ambassadors were so far above her pay grade, they might as well exist in a different dimension. "I was just doing my job. You were doing far more than your job." Thalvin moved to the viewing window, where the nebula painted the darkness with swirls of pink and purple. "Among my people, companion animals are not mere pets. They are living emblems of honor, representatives of the bonds we forge across species lines. Zenith," his voice softened on the name, "was gifted to me by the Earth Diplomatic Corps as a symbol of trust between our peoples. She is registered in both Kethrian and Earth archives as a cultural ambassador in her own right." Olivia felt her eyebrows climb. Zenith is a diplomatic asset? She is much more than that. She is proof that Kethrians and humans can nurture life together, can care for beings that are not our own species, can build bridges across the vast differences between our worlds. His scales flickered to deep purples. "If I had lost her through negligence, through my failure to secure proper care during our travels, the political ramifications would have been severe. But more than that," he turned to face Olivia directly, "I would have lost a friend. Someone I have raised since she was a cub, who has slept in my chambers and hunted simulations with my younglings." The weight of what she'd saved suddenly pressed down on Olivia's shoulders. Not just an animal, not just a patient, but a bridge between civilizations, a symbol, a friend. "I'm glad I could help," she said quietly. Thalvin approached her, moving with a grace that seemed impossible for something so large. "You must understand something, Intern Reeves. By proving yourself here, by demonstrating capabilities that surprised even your own superiors, you have gained notice. The medical community across this sector will hear of what you accomplished. Some will see you as I do, as a healer with rare gifts, someone who can bridge the gaps between species that others cannot." He paused, his scales darkening. "But others will see you as a threat, a human who can do what trained xenoveterinarians cannot, someone who challenges the established hierarchies of medical knowledge. You have made yourself visible, and visibility is both blessing and curse." Olivia's mouth went dry. She'd been so focused on saving Zenith, on proving to herself that she belonged here, that she hadn't thought about the larger implications. Politics, territory, professional jealousy. "What should I do?" she asked. Thalvin's scales shifted to warm golds. "Continue exactly as you have been. Teach what you know, learn what you do not, build bridges." He extended one of his 4 hands toward her, palm up, a Kethrian gesture of respect. "And know that you have allies. I will not forget what you did for Zenith, for me, for the bond between our peoples." Olivia placed her hand in his. His scales were warm and smooth, like sun-heated stone. "Thank you, Ambassador." "Thank you, Healer Reeves." The title shift wasn't lost on her. Not intern, healer. 3 days later, Olivia sat in the recovery suite during Gamma shift, the station's equivalent of late night when most of the staff had cycled off duty and the corridors hummed with the quiet sounds of life support systems. The lights were dimmed to simulate Earth's circadian rhythm, at least in this one room, and beyond the observation window, the nebula painted the cosmos in shades of impossible beauty. Zenith lay on the thermal bed, her spotted coat sleek and clean, now that the medical staff had helped Olivia bathe her properly. The cheetah's breathing was clear, the respiratory infection conquered by 3 days of antibiotics and rest. The bioregeneration scaffold in her leg was already beginning to dissolve, the bone beneath healing stronger than before, and she was purring. The sound was deep and rhythmic, a vibration that Olivia could feel through the bed where she sat beside the cheetah. Zenith's head rested in Olivia's lap, just as it had that first night after surgery, and Olivia's hand moved in slow, gentle strokes along the cheetah's neck and shoulders. "You're going home soon," Olivia murmured. "Back to Ambassador Thalvin, back to the embassy, back to whatever fancy diplomatic quarters you live in. Probably much nicer than the studio apartment I had on Earth." Zenith's ear twitched at the sound of her voice. "I wonder if you miss it. Earth, I mean, the real sun, not artificial lighting, grass under your paws instead of deck plating, the smell of soil and rain." Olivia gazed out at the stars. "I miss it sometimes, even though I wanted this so badly, the internship, the chance to work in xenomedicine, to be part of something bigger than myself. But some nights I miss the simple things. Coffee that actually tastes like coffee. My mom's voice without the 3-second transmission lag. The way Earth's moon looks when it's full." The cheetah shifted, pressing her head more firmly into Olivia's lap, and made a small chirping sound. "Yeah, you get it, don't you? We're both a long way from home." Olivia thought about the past few days, the terror in the docking bay, the moment of connection through the bars, the surgery, the staff meeting, Ambassador Thalvin's warning and gratitude, the requests from 3 different departments asking her to consult on Earth fauna cases, to review their xenobiology protocols, to guest lecture in the medical academy. She'd come to this station 6 months ago as an intern, the bottom of the hierarchy, expected to observe and learn and keep her head down. She'd anticipated long hours of cataloging medical samples, updating patient records, maybe occasionally assisting with minor procedures on species whose biology was well documented and safe. Instead, she just taught a room full of experienced xenoveterinarians that sometimes the most important medical tool wasn't in the equipment catalog or the database. Sometimes it was empathy, understanding, the willingness to see past the data to the living being underneath. Behind her, Olivia heard the soft sound of the observation deck door opening. She glanced back to see Selivar, Imara, Varric, and Dr. Teixis standing there, their various forms silhouetted against the corridor lighting. They didn't enter. They just watched, but their postures had changed. The skin glowed soft blues and silvers, contentment, respect. Imara's 4 hands were folded in the gesture of acknowledgement. Varric was practically vibrating with excited yellows, probably already planning what questions to ask in her first teaching session. And Dr. Teixis's compound eyes reflected the starlight, all 4 hands still in a posture that their species used to honor master physicians. They were watching not with fear, but with awe. Not the cheetah, they'd learned she was no monster. They were watching Olivia, the human who'd shown them something new, something valuable, something that might just change how xenomedicine approached behavioral care for species outside their normal experience. Olivia turned back to Zenith, continuing her gentle strokes, and allowed herself a small smile. She'd come here to learn. She'd expected to spend years as the student, the outsider, the one who knew the least. Instead, she discovered that she had something to teach. And maybe, just maybe, that was exactly what the galaxy needed. People who could build bridges, who could see past the surface to the patient beneath, who understood that sometimes the most alien thing wasn't the 12-limbed Corvian or the energy-based Luminari, but the frightened animal who just needed someone to understand. "You know what, Zenith?" Olivia whispered, looking out at the stars that wheeled beyond the window, at the nebula that painted space with cosmic fire. "I think we're going to be okay. Both of us, all of us." The cheetah's purr deepened, a sound of contentment and trust and home found in the most unexpected place. And 73 light-years from Earth, in a veterinary clinic that orbited a dying star, a human intern and an Earth predator rested together while alien physicians looked on and learned that sometimes the greatest medicine was simply recognizing that under fur or scales or skin, everyone just wanted to be understood.